So whose decision was it to make this cover? This cover, like I remember when this film was first being announced by Chris Stuckman on his channel and through his Kickstarter, we had a different cover to it, and obviously I understand that a lot of these ideas are susceptible to change over time. I just wonder how they led to this cover instead of that other one. I kind of think that other one just was a little bit more attention grabbing. This time, in this cover here, the only attention grabber here is the title, so you recognize the title, and then you recognize the person who announced it, Chris Stuckman here. And of course, we have Mike Flanagan as the executive producer, but we don't have Aaron B. Koontz on here somewhere. You know, I think we should have had his name on here somewhere, maybe here instead of Mike Flanagan here. Mike Flanagan probably would be more belonging on the back cover, though Aaron B. Koontz is on the back cover. Aaron B. Koontz, he did movies like the Scare Package films. I want to see those. These Scare Package films are, to my knowledge, kind of like those Creepshow movies. You know, it's kind of like that, anthological. I'm excited to see those. I'm excited to see those. Shelby Oaks. I did not know anything about that. I wanted to know as little as possible about this film before watching it. I didn't watch the trailer. I watched a couple behind the scenes things that he put on his channel. Obviously, I watched a couple of those, but I didn't watch the trailer, any of the story stuff. I didn't watch any of the paranormal paranoids things. I didn't look into that at all, so that I can go into this film as blind as I possibly could be, so that I could get an experience truly fresh, and all that stuff. And I was obviously left with a bunch of questions, so I went off to go investigate, as you do, to find the answers, because, you know, I like a lot of ideas in this film. As a film idea man, perspective, I like a lot of the ideas. I like the idea of the paranormal paranoids. I love that idea of the whole thing about that. I did some research onto that. Apparently, the paranormal paranoids did not exist in the 2000s, but it sure fooled me. You know, I watched that footage, and yeah, the actors in that are very good. I want to give credit to all those guys. They really do make it look like it truly was a 2000s web series. Because, you know, they did a bunch of web series a lot like this. And I could tell the idea of Shelby Oaks, the actual abandoned town stuff, that shtick was very popular in the 2000s. You had a bunch of stuff doing works with that. One of them I reviewed on this channel that I did a lot of research into, and I wanted to know more about it. Shadow Falls. Shadow Falls is another one of those abandoned towns that kind of has that Silent Hill inspiration behind it. And I like how we have here Gun Park Entertainment Presents. It's the volume 1 of Shadow Falls. You could look this up as much as you want to. Go find the old video that I made about that. Do that if you want. Go look this up. This is a great investigation rabbit hole that you can climb down. The whatever exists on this of this channel that used to exist, this web series that used to exist. You can find a couple of the episodes of Volume 1 on YouTube, just a couple of them, not all of them. The whole volume is on the DVD. I'm very surprised that a DVD ever got made, actually. This is sold at a rental store, right? This is still picked up and sold at a rental store. That's surprising to me, you know? That's crazy how that happened. I blocked that out and all that stuff because I don't like those barcodes and all that crap mushing up my thing. I couldn't get the sticker off. It's actually like on the actual paper itself, so you know I can't get that off without ruining the paper, and that's what I don't like about stickers. You know, you should probably, if you're gonna have stickers, put it on the plastic. I could at least change the DVD case and just pull out the sleeve and put it onto a fresh case. But if you put it on the actual paper itself, I cannot get that off. It just ruins the thing. It just ruins it. But yeah, that's a minor nitpick, but or whatever. The Shadow Falls, that's what it reminded me of, Shelby Oaks, the paranormal paranoid segments. Because there are 4 episodes of paranormal paranoids. on here. There's the final tape, so technically 5 episodes of Paranormal Paranoids are on here as bonus features. I love that. I love when a DVD has bonus features, you know. This has bonus features galore. You're going to have a treasure trove of them. He probably put a bunch more on the Blu-ray for the Backers Edition. So you're going to have a lot of good things to eat on the bonus features. So I really appreciate putting that on here. I really appreciate that. Yeah, but you see, the scenario similarities of paranormal paranoids, and Shadow Falls, things like Marble Hornets. I watched Marble Hornets. I never heard of Shadow Falls until I found this DVD. Then I fell down a rabbit hole, right? But then it just goes to show just how interesting Paranormal Paranoids became to me after finding out that it never existed. Apparently, those scenes, those little episodes of Paranormal Paranoids were shot in 2020. They were shot in 2020 using old equipment. So it looks old, it sounds old, it feels old, but it was shot in 2020. You fooled me. You done fooled me. I could have genuinely thought that was some old stuff, man. That's probably the best part of this film, is all those old paranormal paranoids. The little opening, the goofy little opening that reminds you of some cheesy stuff. I love that. I love the openings. I love the cheesy acting. I love all of that. Honestly, if you were gonna make a movie just completely from that found footage compiled together of episodes, lost episodes of paranormal paranoids, and you just compiled that using old equipment, making it feel like this old box format, aspect ratio, poor audio quality, lots of grain and artifacting. I would have loved that, honestly. And it would have been very cheap to do, you know. With your original budget of $1 million before Neon picked it up, that probably would have been very doable to do that, because you already did it before the film was even announced. That's crazy right there. I love the whole campaign there. It kind of felt like a campaign in and of itself, where you had these Twitter accounts and all these other Reddit accounts where they were talking about Shelby Oaks. They were talking about the paranormal paranoids and their lost episodes. Episodes start to show up on this channel. Just the whatever the name is, I can't remember usernames, but it's on that channel. All the episodes are on that channel. They were showing up onto the Internet Archive as well. It genuinely gave you a feeling that this was actually an old series, and I was thrown. I was completely I fell for it. When my first time watching this, I fell for it. I thought, wow, this was an actual web series? That's a pretty interesting idea. It was a pretty interesting take. The movie's first 20 minutes is probably the most interesting to me. I was really interested in that. The whole internet culture of the 2000s era, YouTube, old style stuff. I was really into that. And I was expecting a found footage movie, like the entire film was going to be found footage. I was expecting that there might, after watching that first 20 minutes, you know, I thought this documentary crew who was interviewing Mia, the sister of Riley, who went missing, that this is going to be their documentary journey, documentating the interview and then the investigation that the sister Mia goes on to find her sister. I thought all of that was going to be in this documentary format of found footage. But I probably would have been more interested in the film if it was like that too. If you kept that crew, that film crew, along the ride, you get to hear a bunch of dialogue from the cameraman, corny things, corny lines between the hostess, the cameraman, and Mia, and anybody else who happened to be in the picture at the time. I would have liked that. I like that natural kind of banter, kind of like a Followed. Remember Followed? That movie came out in 2020. That one was a pretty interesting film. I like that found footage aspect, the dynamic between the film crew and the person on camera. They're always bickering and bantering. I liked that. I like that. And I thought that's what I was going to get. But then after there's the big transition that switches between this found footage type of aspect where the documentarian is filming Mia and all that stuff. There's a man that knocks at the door of Mia's house, so Mia goes to the door. The documentary lady points to the door, says cameraman to go look at the door, so the camera angles to the door. And Mia opens the door. There's a dude standing there. He says something weird, and then he pulls out a pistol and takes himself out. And everybody screams, and then they cut the camera, and then it fades into normal, regular film, widescreen format. The aspect ratio changes. The color picture quality becomes what you expect for a film. And then you get maybe 60 to 70 minutes of a film that probably needed a little bit more time to build on itself. And maybe you could have just made 2 movies out of this script. You probably crammed a bunch of things in here, maybe thinking, oh, I probably am not going to have time to do any of this stuff. Let's just put this in here. Let's just shove this in over here. They're probably not going to understand where I'm coming from here. I might as well put this here. I get that. I get all of that stuff. I do. And I get the excitement. There is some genuine excitement on the camera, in the dialogue, in the shots. There's like an excitement. It's like a little kid's got the camera, and he's just so happy to be making this movie. And that's probably exactly what Chris Stuckman was feeling. He felt like a kid playing with all these big toys, and it probably felt incredible. The best weeks of his life, despite not being able to sleep all that much, it probably felt incredible. And I completely am okay with that type of thing, that type of energy, that type of child hyperactivity energy with the camera, and just wanting to get all these shots, go to all these locations because we got it to be. I always wanted to do that, yada yada yada. But you kind of have to have some restraint here. You gotta have some restraint, especially in the script and your camera shots. You don't want to blow everything that you wanted to do too soon. You don't want to blow it all in one go, in one film. There are a lot of scenes in here that remind me of other movies that I would arguably say are a little bit better than this. There is a sequence in this movie that reminded me almost very, very, very similar to a scene in The Ring, the Naomi Watts American remake of The Ring, and that probably might be one of his favorite films. I don't know too much about that, but it probably sounds like it's one of his favorite films because he's got a lot of references to The Ring in here all over the place. And one of the scenes in The Ring that I'm talking about is Naomi Watts is going on her investigation as she finds. It's been a long time since I've seen The Ring. I think it's Samara's father. I think it's the father. She finds this dude out here in this big farmhouse, right? It's starting to rain. It's dark. And I forget who plays him. I forget the guy's name. But he does a very good job there. And so she goes in, interviews him, learns about Samara, learns about all that stuff, and then she goes snooping around while he goes off to attend to something. She goes snooping through some stuff. I think she finds a tape or something, and she watches some of that. She's engrossed into that, and then the camera pans to see the doorway, and then the lightning strikes, and then you could see that he's standing in the doorway. He's very creepy. He's very horrifying. That is a scene from that movie that I will probably remember for the rest of my life, and there is a scene almost exactly reflected in this film. It just right away made you think about The Ring, right? And I don't think it's ripping off it. I think it's inspired by it. You are inspired by that shot, and you wanted to recreate it for your film. You probably did he did a very good job there. He's the character that he casts for this. It's not it's not a father of the thing. No, it's a mother this time. Mia is talking to this mother character, and when she first meets the mother character, she's living in this little cabin in the outskirts of Shelby Oaks, the town of Shelby Oaks. She meets this mother. She's been guided here by a dog. She's following the dog through the amusement park, and then she finds this house. And the way that she's framed, the light frames this woman. Her face is completely in shadows during the entire time we see her outside, and the way she's talking is very stunted, very creepy. She just has one of the creepiest auras I've seen in a film since the 2000s, man. That was a fantastic performance right there. It just reminded me of those older movies, man. And that's probably why he put it in there, because he was inspired by those older movies, you know? There are a lot of things in here on idea paper, shot-wise, that I really like. The things that I don't think work so strongly are the way people talk, the way investigations are done, dialogue is repeated to you, kind of like how I repeat things a bunch of the time. I say something at the start of this video, and then I forgot I said it 20 minutes later, so I end up saying it again, and then if the video goes on for another 30 minutes, I'll probably say it for a third time. So you, the audience, have already heard me say something at the start of the video. I've probably forgotten I've said it, and so I say it again 30 to 40 minutes later, and you go, why'd you say it again? Well, it's because I forgot I said it the first time. Or I'm probably going in conclusion, let me go over what I just said, yada yada yada. And it doesn't translate too well on film, especially when it's from a company as prestigious as in the horror community right now as Neon, you know. But at the same time, I want to give this guy some slack because it is his first movie. Most people's first movies don't tend to get picked up in theatrical runs, get picked up by, sometimes it happens, but most of the time, 95% of the time, it doesn't happen. You'll be lucky if your first film gets thrown on the Tubi trash bin. You'll be lucky if it gets thrown onto Tubi. You know, you'll be lucky. So the fact that this happened at all is incredible. It is an accomplishment. It is something that you should never, ever, you know, let all the bad reviews and bad criticism and say, oh, this movie's terrible, oh, this movie's trash. Don't let that go to your head. The fact that this thing exists at all, the fact that I'm holding it in my hand is incredible.